This is training from Monday the 1st of February. I'm training shoulders and back today with more focus on back than shoulders. I put together the 6 exercises I wanted to do in the session. It was quite a long one. It took over an hour and I was pretty fatigued by the end of it. Now, the first exercise I did was rack pulls, which I don't usually do, but I slotted them in this back day because I haven't been deadlifting that much, so I just wanted to get a somewhat similar stimulus for my upper back that requires that solid base rather than a row or something which is about a contraction. I tried to keep it as back dominant as possible, so I was pinning my lats and engaging my back before the movement and keeping that as still as possible whilst I hinged the hips using my lower back, glutes and hamstrings. I did 4 sets of this exercise, a warm-up set with 40 kilos and then 3 working sets at 60 kilos, hitting about 10 to 12 reps on each set. After that exercise, I went on to single arm rows, which was my heavy back exercise for the session, where I started off with 20 kilos, then I went to 25 kilos, and then finished off with 32 kilos. So I did 2 sets at 32 kilos where I got 10 on each side, and then on the other sets I was hitting about 10 to 12, depending on how it felt. Now, I did this movement just because I like doing it. I haven't gone heavy with it in a while. I can use it like this as a heavy movement, or you can use it as an accessory, drop the weight down slightly, really focus in, moving slightly less weight. It's important to enjoy your sessions and choose exercise you like doing at times, because if you enjoy your sessions, you're much more likely to be able to sustain it and not give up. And if you stop training, you're going to stop working towards your goals, which is a lot worse than training suboptimally. Now, my third exercise was a seated shoulder press, which felt really heavy on the day. I ended up, I think, 3 or 4 working sets with 20 kilos. I was planning on going heavier, but 10 was a push. It was probably about an 8 or a 9 RPE. So there's no way I was getting close to 10 with anything heavier. And sadly that's the case. Sometimes you just don't feel strong, but if you come in and train to the intensity that you can on that day, you know you're working hard enough. Exercise 4, I was training my back again with some lat pullovers. Now, I know I'm not very good at this exercise, but that's why I like to do it from time to time. It's hard to feel out the motion and not let other muscles take over, but in the long term, after practice, when I've got it down, it's going to be a really useful tool to hit my lats with the limited equipment I have in my garage. It's a really good exercise because of the big stretch you get at the bottom. It also engages less of the rest of your back than something like a lat pull down would. I used a 15 kilo dumbbell just to make sure I had the control I wanted, and I was doing about 10 to 12 reps, really squeezing my lats through the whole motion, trying to make sure they did as much of the motion as possible. For exercise 5, I was back to shoulders, and I just did a combination of a front and a side raise with 5 kilo dumbbells. I took every set to failure just to get as big a stimulus as possible to make up for the lack of volume of shoulder exercises. Now, the closer you get to failure, the more time it's going to take to recover. So when you're doing little exercises on a muscle group, you're able to take them to failure a lot easier without worrying. You're not worried that the next exercise you're going to have to do it differently or do it lighter. You can just move on to a different body part and leave that muscle group recovering. Then my final exercise was a chest supported row. I just wanted to finish off with a nice back stimulus, and I feel it really well with my chest supported rows. I think just because it's slightly more isolated than most, my lower back isn't working at all, and I get a nice range of motion. I was pretty tired from the other exercise, and because it's at the end of the session, so I was only using 10 kilo dumbbells, but I still took it somewhat close to failure at about a 7 or 8 intensity. I think I got 3 sets out of about 10 before calling it a day. Now, I haven't been feeling great over the weekend and into Monday, so it wasn't the greatest session I've ever had. It was okay. Hopefully I'm feeling better for my chest and arm session on Wednesday. Now I'm thinking of, in the coming weeks, putting a bit more structure into these sessions and tracking the kind of weights I'm moving to focus on the progressive overload a bit more. I have just been progressively overloading the kind of volume I'm doing more exercises, doing more sets, but now that I've built up that kind of work capacity, I want to start moving some heavier weights. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.